call the city council to order. Roll call.
Prince,
Here.
Scaring me, Jane.
I know. I have to wait to get my glasses and I'm sorry. Here, I'm here.
Tao, Tolbert,
Here.
Yang,
Here.
Jalali,
Here.
Naker, Council President Brenmon. Is Councilmember Tao with us yet? No. 4 present, 3 absent, being council members Tao, Naker, and Brenmon. Naker and Brenmon are both excused.
All right, please stand while we say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent agenda items 4 through 13 are before you for your consideration.
Do we have any items for separate consideration? If not, a motion to approve the consent agenda from Councilmember Yang. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
4 in favor, no one opposed. The consent agenda is adopted. Item 14 is a status update from Human Resources on the vaccine mandate.
I know we have Director Newborn joining us. I should say, and I didn't say this at the start, both the council president and council vice president are excused today, and so that is why you're seeing a new face chairing the meeting. Director Newborn, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you all hear me? I'm on my phone trying to leave another meeting to come to this one. So technology, it works. So thank you so much for having me here to provide an update on the vaccine mandate. Just to give some background to the council here, I know we talked a few days ago, or maybe a week or so ago, at your leadership team meeting about where we are, and just to recap. So we've received a direction and directive from the mayor to initiate and develop a policy and policies and procedures around rolling out a vaccine mandate. And here in Human Resources, we've been working on this for probably a couple of months now, and we've taken an approach with this approach, the mayor has asked us to focus on the fact that we want to ensure that we're keeping our employees safe and protecting and healthy as well as they come into our spaces to do the work of the city. And so our approach to this process is to, one, build the infrastructure to support this effort. And what I mean by that is we have just the technical piece of how are we going to do that work. There's a technology platform component to us doing this. How are we going to collect the information? Who has access to the information, the data, privacy, all of that stuff. We also, as a part of this approach, although the city can, enact, so to speak, any citywide policy, we have our bargaining and labor units in which, we have to negotiate in good faith the impact that such a policy would have on our city staff. And so we are in the process currently of working with our bargaining units and in partnership with them to talk about what impact that would have on our employees. And when I talk about impact, I mean, is this the result of, not getting the vaccine would be, results in discipline or any other forms of impact. So we are working very closely with our bargaining units on that. And then the last piece of this is, funding this effort as well. So right now, and it ties back into the infrastructure, we don't have, outside of, spreadsheets, those spreadsheets, we don't have a mechanism in place to collect the vaccine information of our employees and know what the status is. And so we are working with OTC to build that out, and also working in partnership with the state. The state has a tool that we would be able to use as well, with doing this work. And so, those are the areas and approaches that we have taken. We now have a tentative, as we work through with our bargaining units. Our goal is to launch this policy, and mandate, so to speak, this fall. So, within the near foreseeable future. But again, we want to ensure that, and we are obligated to work with our labor unions to negotiate the terms of how this will impact their members. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions that you all may have.
I have one question, and I see Councilmember Jalali as well. So this council unanimously passed a resolution to get the vaccine mandate implemented, and called out September specifically, which is this month. We passed that back on August 18th. We were one of the first municipalities in the state to do so. Since then, even though we passed resolutions prior to that, Hennepin County, the St. Paul School District is in the implementation process, and we are still in the planning process. What is our actual timeline, and what is so different about the city of St. Paul? Instead of being a leader on this, like we had hoped, and this council in a resolution had passed unanimously, what is holding us back and actually going to be, it looks like probably one of the last municipalities in the Twin Cities to implement the vaccine requirement?
So thank you, Councilmember Tolbert, for that question. I don't see it as from a standpoint of holding us back. I think that, and I can't speak in detail about what other jurisdictions have done, with the exception of maybe Ramsey County, which has been our close partners in this work. When I talk about that infrastructure, the sense that I've gotten from the other jurisdictions that we have talked to is that they have come out with statements about their intent to mandate the vaccine, and some have rolled it out. But in conversations, we've learned that the infrastructure they're building, they're flying the plane while they're building it at the same time. And so, what the mayor has asked me to do with my staff here in Human Resources is to be very mindful, thoughtful, and strategic in how we launch this, and to make sure, with such a heavy labor and union entity that we have and relationship that we have with our bargaining units, that we're working very closely in partnership with our unions, and ensuring that we know and they know how this is going to impact their members, but also just kind of going back around. We've been really thoughtful and strategic in ensuring, throughout this time pandemic, making sure our employees are safe, making sure that our employees are healthy, and avoiding layoffs. All of those things have taken place with just giving some time and thought to it. And that doesn't mean, we're in a pandemic, right? So things are happening now. The Delta variant is here and alive and moving through our county and through our city. So that doesn't mean that we have the luxury of a lot of time. But I think, and based off of the direction that the mayor has given, for us to build the infrastructure that's needed, so that we avoid lawsuits and any other kind of legal liabilities that is very likely to come up if with this rollout of this mandate and vaccine. And we want to make sure that we're thinking about this from not only the health and safety, as I mentioned before, but there's legal components and legal liabilities that we have to take into place, in addition to the work that we need to do with our labor partners. So when you asked about specifically about the timeline, again, we haven't locked down an exact date because we're still in the process of negotiating with our labor partners. We're thinking, on or around November, but again, that's not a hard date. Uh, and we have to, I need to finalize all of this plan and strategy with the mayor and deputy mayor.
Well, I will say I think it's disappointing. I think every governmental entity is dealing with these same things, and the reason we need a sense of urgency behind this is because of the especially the growing wave of the Delta variant, to protect not only our employees but also the community that we serve. So I would hope that the sense of urgency is increased. Hennepin County, the state of Minnesota, the federal government are also dealing with the same issues, and multiple unions. I mean, I'm a union member myself. Multiple unions that they have to work with in partnership on this, as well as the potential for litigation. And I think the public health and the urgency to keep our employees and our community safe overrides that. But disappointing to hear that it's November. I know I have a couple of questions, Councilmember Jalali and then Councilmember Kern.
Thank you. My question is simple, which is about the tracking technology. And I guess I'm just asking from a place of learning as we go through the pandemic, but why can't we just have employees show their vaccine cards and that is our tracking system? Why do we need more technology for that? I guess it strikes me that we could just use the technology we have, but is there some other reason why we need more? What are the data collection needs? And I recognize there's privacy and things like that, but it seems like the general public is all using the same card system to be able to manage this. And I guess if there are associated costs with that, could you talk more about what that is and what else has been considered?
Sure. And I do want to point that our OTC has submitted a proposal to utilize ARP funds to support this technology platform, and as it relates to this vaccine rollout. So I do want to point that out. As in response to your question, Council Member, we are, this is the vaccine cards and like all, vaccinations that we've received throughout our time in life from school up until this date is considered to be medical information. And so showing a card, there's many questions around who do you show that information to? Who has the right to have that information? Where do we, how do we track it? Where are we going to keep that information? So, very similar to you going out utilizing FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, some form of leave. There's a process that's in place in there. There's some legal requirements for us to collect that information. It has to be housed in a certain place. Only certain people would have access to that information, and usually that is, folks out in HR. What we have found is that, we're not, buying something off the shelf, so to speak, as far as the technology platform. Our OTC staff, which have been great partners in this effort, they have a tool that we already have or have access to. We just need some, these are my words, enhancements, so to speak, to ensure that we, have all of those protections and have all of those the process in place to be able to collect that information. And fortunately, as I mentioned before, the state of Minnesota, who's also been a great partner of ours in sharing information, they have created a tool that will assist and in some ways support our effort as well. So what we found as of recent is that we may not need to build a full plane, so to speak, to continue using that analogy in order to launch this. we may be able to supplement what we were going to do with the work that the state has already going to do. So the only thing that I can share with the other thing that I can share with you all is to rest assured, you know, we're in the place with with a lot of other jurisdictions, and the state is has recognized that and has created a tool in order for us to use so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel of this work.
Okay, thank you for helping understand more of the different realities of figuring that out. I will look forward to learning more, and you know, we are eager to see this advance. I recognize there's things to sort through, but appreciate the information for now, and thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilmember Prince.
Thank you, Councilmember Tolbert. Ms. Newborn, I am really deeply disappointed with the response today. As Councilmember Tolbert pointed out, we passed our resolution in mid-August. Our concern, as I'm sure is shared by everyone, is that it is children in our community that are the most at risk. Children under 12 years old. I happen to be a new grandma. I'm very concerned about my granddaughter being unable to be protected by vaccination. And I would have thought in the past 6 weeks that we would have gotten some communication from the administration that the administration, the mayor, your office shared our sense of urgency that this be done as quickly as possible. And I will second what Councilmember Tolbert said about the other entities in this area, that we definitely should not be reinventing any wheels. I appreciate that you use that term, but your initial response to the question was kind of exactly that. Like, we're figuring it out. We're figuring out what we have to do. We've got to talk to our unions. Well, it's been 6 weeks. You said that you had started working on it 2 months ago. I'm deeply disappointed that we're talking about a November rollout. So I believe that the administration and the council should definitely be on the same page on this issue. And if we were going to experience delays, I think that could have been shared between all of us far before we're down to the last day in September, which is when we had asked to have this in place. So I feel like there's been poor communication, and it's not lost on me that the council passed this resolution and that your response immediately was the mayor wants to see this happen, and the mayor is doing this, and the mayor is doing that. We are working together here. We share the same goal of protecting all of our employees and the children of all of our employees and the children of our city. So I will just say that I hope we can get moving on this a whole lot more quickly than a rollout in November. And thank you for your efforts to do that.
Councilmember Yang.
Thank you. I do feel very anxious about this and want to. Oh, do you hear me, by the way?
Yes, we can hear
Oh,
you.
now you do? Oh, okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I do feel really anxious about this and want us to move with urgency because we do have staff who have been back at the office already. I know that for our council staff, we were planning on going back in September, but that was postponed because of the Delta variant. And so, a lot of people are already back at their offices. And so I think it'd be really important to do this work as quick as possible and to also learn from other government bodies that have already put this in place too. So we have a lot of learning to do from them. And I really encourage you to reach out. I was wondering, would you be able to share when we will be hearing a report about this again?
Sure, Councilmember Yang. I would need to work with the mayor and deputy mayor about when they're ready to report back. And so once I hear from them, then either they will or I will reach back out to you all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think having an actual schedule is important, and obviously, I don't know the exact deadline from the federal government for requiring employers of over 100 to have vaccinated employees, but November, my memory serves me correctly, November would be pushing it very close to the federal government deadline, and I wish instead we were a leader on this, but maybe we should have another update at our next council meeting where we get an actual schedule. I know our next one is first week in October of what this will look like, because I suspect it takes notice and then collecting the information before, you need some time before you can actually implement it so that people can prove that they're vaccinated. Maybe we'll invite you to the next meeting then.
Council Member Tolbert, as I stated, that will I will need to rely on and receive direction from the mayor and deputy mayor about when we're ready to provide that information to you all. I'm happy to present, but I will need to talk back with them, and they may be the ones that are providing that update to you all.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? If not, maybe we can just lay this matter over to our next meeting. Oh, okay. Councilmember Prince.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, Councilmember Tolbert. I think we should lay it over to our next meeting and ask someone from the administration to present to us. That would be our October 6th meeting. We don't have a meeting next week. And I will say again, I don't understand why this is feeling like an adversarial process. It sure shouldn't. We sure ought to all be sharing the same concerns here. So I'm disappointed. But I think it's appropriate to lay it over and ask for a report from the administration.
Okay. Any other comments? Not a motion from Councilmember Prince to Sherry? Sorry.
Actually, there's no action to be able to be taken on a staff report. So what I will do is I will enter another file exactly like this one for the October 6th meeting. I'll do it after this meeting is over.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Director Newborn.
Thank you.
Item 15 is the final adoption of ordinance 21-34, creating chapter 441 of the legislative code pertaining to electric vehicle charging rates at city-owned charging stations.
All right, this is final adoption. Any comments or questions? If not, a motion to approve from, Councilmember Jalali.
I was going to make a motion to approve and just reiterate previously, appreciate seeing this project inching along, working to electrify our community's transportation system can take many forms. And I really appreciate the leadership of Russ Stark and Samantha Henningsen and Our Car and just all of the council members to date for helping progress this. So I just wanted to put in a good word for what can seem like a boring item and motion to approve.
Great. A motion from Councilmember Jalali. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The ordinance is adopted. Item 16 is first reading of ordinance 21-35, amending chapter 66 of the legislative code pertaining to the 4 districts.
Great, and I know we have a staff report here. Mr. Pereira and Ms. Anderson, I believe, are joining us, and I will pass it over to you. Do you have access to share your screen if you need to?
Councilmember, I don't apparently right now, but we do have a presentation.
You should in a few seconds.
Okay, looks like I have it now. And sharing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Looks like it's loading. Okay, good afternoon, council members. My name is Luis Pereira. I'm here with Tia Anderson from DSI. We wanted to bring you up to speed and sort of remind you what the study is about, and then also end the presentation with how the Planning Commission recommended. I also wanted to give credit to Menika Mohan, who was really the lead on this through the Planning Commission process. And of course, you know, she left the city recently. She worked closely with Tia on this zoning study. So to begin, we have some current regulations in the master plan as well as the zoning code. We have something that's called lot coverage by open space. It's a standard, not a very common standard. So typically we would have in the zoning code a lot coverage standard for buildings, but in the case of Ford, we have one for open space as well. And the origins of this come from when we were putting the master plan together with the community. There was concern about, you know, the potential for really large buildings in terms of height and massing on the site. And so this standard was created to address that concern by promoting essentially, you know, some areas that were undeveloped spaces between buildings. And so in the master plan, open space as it pertains to private lots, which is what the standard is about again, is defined as areas covered by landscape materials, gardens, August 11th, the CNPC heard the staff recommendation that responded to public hearing comments. And then in August, we had the recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council, which brings us to today, the first reading, and we expect a public hearing October 6th. Now I'll just reflect a big picture about the outcomes of the study before I turn it over to Tia to get into a little more of the weeds of, you know, what the recommendation was from the Planning Commission. So the proposed amendments, big picture, what they do is they remove a redundant standard, given that we have many other zoning dimensional standards that regulate this in a similar way. So we have setbacks, which, you know, minimum and maximum setbacks, which ultimately result in some unbuilt area, open space. We have maximum building lot coverage, a certain percentage of the lot that can't be exceeded with building. We also have landscaping requirements, and we also have stormwater management regulations. All of those have to be met. None of that is proposed to change with these amendments. So that's one. And the second outcome is really to more directly and effectively incentivize green roofs on the site. So there is some option for green roofs in the master plan, but it has not really been effective at achieving them. So now I'll turn it over to Tia to take it from here. Thanks.
Thank you, Luis. Good afternoon, council members. Tia Anderson, planner in the Department of Safety and Inspections. So to summarize the recommendations that are coming from the Comp and Neighborhood Planning Committee, as well as the Planning Commission to the City Council. The first is a group of amendments to the master plan itself, really to clarify lot coverage standards. And so the first is to add a definition to the master plan for lot coverage. And this definition already exists within the zoning code. and it really pertains to the building lot coverage. So the portion of the parcel that is occupied by the above grade portion of the building. And so bringing that definition from the zoning code and placing it also in the master plan. Secondly, removing the term as well as the minimums for lot coverage by open space. So currently in the master plan, as Luis had indicated, there is a unique standard to the Ford master plan that also has a minimum amount of open space on a lot on private development lots that is not taken up by the building. And then thirdly, removing from the master plan the definition for open space coverage, as well as a definition for green roof areas as open space. And I'll get into that a little bit more as we talk about green roofs. So in the master plan, the open space definition was somewhat intertwined with the green roof definition, and it got very messy. And so one of the recommendations, as Luis Pereira had indicated, is to seek to better strengthen and incentivize green roofs. And so the proposal from the Planning Commission to do that is to update the zoning code to include the language that's there underlined, which in essence indicates that on private development sites that have a functional green roof, and all of those blocks would need to either face a public right-of-way, a civic area, central stormwater feature, or a city park as specified in the master plan. When a development provides a green roof, they can receive up to a 1% lot coverage bonus, and that would be a building lot coverage bonus for every 1% of functional green roof that is provided, up to a maximum 10% lot coverage bonus. And I will just provide a little bit more information there that the Comp and Neighborhood Plan Committee, they did talk about that max bonus and landed on the 10%.
And before we move on, I see
Yeah.
Member Prince has a question. I might have been this with the slide previous, but I'll let you ask.
That it was the previous slide. So I just am trying to understand what's happening here. So Luis had mentioned that these lot coverage definitions, I mean, the references to lot coverage for open space in the master plan was unique to the Ford master plan. Is that what I heard? And we're getting rid of that.
Councilmember Prince, that is correct. To my knowledge.
That's not a provision that's anything we have in the code.
Correct. It's not in the zoning code, and it's not part of any other zoning district. So in other places of the zoning code, other zoning districts, for example, in a single family residential zoning district, there is a max building lot coverage provision. In our traditional neighborhood zoning districts and in the F4 districts, there is a floor area ratio provision that manages density. So we have other mechanisms in both the 4 districts and other districts that are measures of a building's footprint as well as a building's density.
I guess what I am wondering is, this was put into the Ford master plan for a reason. I mean, we may not know what that reason was or where it came from, but clearly, you know, there was an extensive process on the Ford master plan, and this is something that we're now taking out. Will this change the look and feel of this development, of the of the master plan because we're making this change? I mean, how is this gonna play out in terms of how these changes will actually look?
Yes, Councilmember Prince, all really good observations and questions. Might I suggest that Luis and I finish the presentation? We've
Okay.
got some slides later on that hopefully will address that question. Particularly, we've got some slides on what this study isn't changing. And that might help to answer some of those questions. And then I do have a bonus slide at the end that we had used yesterday when we met with the Highland District Council to try to provide some visuals
Okay.
on how this may or may not impact developments. And so we had, in the interest of time, we had put it kind of at the very end, just in case
Great.
there were these types of questions. And so
Thanks, Tia.
Yes.
And the only other question I have is just what CNPC stands for. I'm sorry about that.
Sure.
I don't know that acronym.
That's the Comprehensive and Neighborhood Planning Committee of
Okay.
the Planning Commission. So yeah, sorry for that. We should have.
Oh, no problem. You probably
problem.
said that and I missed it. So thank you.
You're
Sure thing.
welcome. Let's see. So just to pick up, the other recommendation that's coming from the Planning Commission to the City Council is to amend and clarify the definition of functional green roof. And this is a definition that exists in the master plan. And so the visuals on the right kind of help to, I think, understand what the changes in the language are in terms of what's being struck through. So what is the definition of functional green roof is area atop a roof on a building, open to the sky and air, with soil and living plant material for the purposes of retaining rainwater and absorbing heat from sunlight. The depth of substrate and planted materials shall be at least 2 inches. And so the proposal for striking out the roof surface and then indicating that the roof, which is surfaced with soil and living plant materials, really sort of differentiating between, there's various types of green roofs that we might see. And so the language refers more to, I would say, the photo at the bottom, right, where it might be more of a green roof that someone is not interacting with. It's, you know, sitting just atop of a roof. It may be able to be viewed, but there's not, it's not creating an amenity space at the same time. What we tend to see actually, or at least what my experience has been in the last 5 years at the city, is that when we do see green roofs, they are doubling as a amenity space. And so it's more like the picture on the top. Both these pictures are within the master plan as examples, but it's more the picture at the top where you've got, you know, you might have trees like you see in the background of that picture. The tree is not on the roof surface. It's needs to be in some sort of contained area, or you may have, you know, other planted materials that are serving the purpose of retaining stormwater and absorbing heat, but they're just not directly placed on the roof surface. And so this recommendation for language cleanup just relates to the fact that we see different types of functional green roofs. Regardless, the green roof needs to be for the purpose of retaining rainwater and absorbing heat. So what is this study, kind of shifting gears here? So those are the changes that are being proposed. What is this study not about? And hopefully this will get to some of the questions as well as then the example we have at the end. So we've tried to be loud and clear about the message that this study is not about our parks and civic open spaces. So there is a chapter in the master plan that is dedicated to parks and open space. It's unfortunate that the term open space was used in multiple ways in the master plan. I think that caused a lot of confusion, and especially based on the testimony that the Planning Commission received, it reinforced that idea that there was a lot of confusion between the use of the term open space for lot coverage and parks and open spaces. So this study in no way impacts our parks and civic spaces. The parks, four city parks were dedicated to the city as part of the 4 subdivision plat. and the civic spaces, including the central stormwater feature, are privately owned but publicly accessible, and this does not change that. To put it in another visual, the open space that is on a lot, and that is what we're proposing to remove in terms of the standard, is not the same as our parks and open spaces. This study is also not about other density and dimensional standards that help to provide for spaces not taken up by a building on a lot. And so we have a number of 4 district dimensional standards. You see these similar types of standards in other zoning districts as well. And so those are things like setbacks. We have minimum and maximum setbacks within the F districts. And that does vary depending on the district as well as the type of building. But that creates a buffer zone, if you will, between the property line and the building. There are also our density standards around floor area ratio, which is the calculation of the building square footage overall. So not just the footprint of the building, but the overall square footage to the lot area, as well as we have our building lot coverage dimensional standard. There are design standards that are part of the master plan that include things around landscaping, for example. And then there are stormwater management standards that are unique to the Ford site. And with our partners at the Watershed District and Public Works Sewers, there is a maximum amount of impervious area on any given lot. And so these other regulations for density and dimensional standards and stormwater management help to manage the overall building footprint and density of individual developments. So in summary, and then I'll go to the example that might help kind of bring this home a little bit more. The study recommendations are seeking to remove what is viewed as a redundant dimensional standard, as well as seeking to more directly and effectively incentivize green roofs. I'll just pause there for any other questions, and then I can go into a little bit more detail with the examples, if that would help.
I don't see any questions, so if you want to go on to the next section. Thank you.
Sounds great. So here are 2 examples from Highland Bridge. The first on the left is labeled Block 7. This is a rendering of a Presbyterian Homes senior living building, and the one on the right is labeled as Block 11. This is a mixed-use building that is in the site plan review process right now. These 2 blocks are fairly similar in size and density. So they're both about a 1 1/3, 1.5 acre block. And the floor area ratio is relatively the same as well. Again, floor area ratio being the measurement of the overall square footage of the building. So the volume of the building divided by the square footage of the lot. And so they both fall kind of right in the middle of the range of 2 to 4 floor area ratio that's allowed. They both have setback requirements of 5 to 15 feet from the public right-of-way. And even for the example on the right-hand side, so block 11, the view that you're looking at is you're looking at that building from the central stormwater feature. And right in front of the building, kind of where you can see a bike and maybe some pedestrians walking, that will actually be Falls Passage East. And so that is a public right-of-way. It's a non-motorized pedestrian bicycle right-of-way. And so all of those, on all 4 sides, essentially, where we have those setback requirements of 5 to 15 feet. Both of these buildings also have about the same building lot coverage, and so that is our building footprint relative to the size of the lot. And there's a 70% maximum allowed for mixed use and multifamily senior living buildings. And both of these buildings are bumping right up against that number. So these are about kind of, at the end of the day, these are about kind of as maxed out for building footprint, as you're going to see. And they're still meeting their floor area ratio and setback requirements. And they're still within kind of the height limitations of these districts. Both of these buildings provided green roof as part of their amenity spaces. And so if the regulation to allow for a lot coverage bonus, building lot coverage bonus by providing a green roof, if that were in effect when these buildings were starting, the example on the left, the senior living building, just under 1,000 square feet of green roof, that meant that they would have, which is about they could have enjoyed about a 1.7% increase in building lot coverage. That would be commensurate with that 1-for-1 green roof and building lot coverage bonus. On that particular building, having worked with them, that may have not meant a bigger building footprint. What it might have meant for that building is more balconies or bigger balconies. So balconies actually count towards building lot coverage. There's another obscure part of our zoning code that includes balconies in lot coverage calculations. And that was a building that I worked really closely with the development team on to ensure that the balconies weren't going to push us over that 70% allowed building lot coverage. And so it would have given a little bit of flexibility to that development, that senior living development, to provide maybe some more balconies. If that senior living Block 7 development, let's say that they were going to max out their green roof and building lot coverage bonus up to the 10%, that would be allowed under the recommended changes. That would be about 5,600 square feet. Essentially, that would be kind of filling in that courtyard drop-off area that you see in the front there in between kind of the two building wings. It's also where they're accessing their underground parking and the like. So, in theory, it could have increased the building footprint there if they were to try to max that out. But operationally, they're still trying to fit in their access to their underground parking, the amenity of a drop-off in a courtyard for their senior living residents. And they also would have had to have balanced that with the floor area ratio and not going above those thresholds or going above the stormwater management threshold. So there's definitely some flexibility that would be allowed with the green roof and building lot coverage bonus, but it's hard to imagine a project that would, completely fill in a block and not be reined in by some of these other dimensional standards. Councilmember Prince, I see your hand up.
I guess that what people are afraid of, though, that in that particular case, if this provision were in place, that there would be more built space and less, it would feel more crowded. I mean, I think someone had emailed me and said something about feeling like the buildings create canyons within the development. And so I can see in that particular case that if they lose part of that courtyard space, it seems like that's the fear that people are referring to. And in this case, are you saying that they're not planning to take advantage of that?
Councilmember Prince, on this particular example, this project is already under construction. So no, it would be the short answer for that particular project. But using it just as an example of a project that is meeting all of the requirements today, and kind of anecdotally how that project might be different if there was not an open space provision and if there was a green roof incentive that allowed for greater building lot coverage.
Right. So it is an illustration of maybe what people are concerned about, that it adds 500 some additional square feet to the building footprint and creates less of what is, kind of makes that a inviting entrance to the building that emphasizes open space. I mean, I can see in that example, I can see what people are talking about. But I appreciate having those examples and also that that it doesn't create a problem on the one on the left. And one additional question, did you say that the additional lot coverage can't exceed 10%? If they max out the rooftop space, the maximum additional lot coverage is 10%.
Councilmember Prince, that is correct, that the Planning Commission's recommendation was a building lot coverage bonus 1-for-1 up to a 10% max. So for every percent of green roof provided, a percent of building lot coverage bonus up to 10% max.
Great.
Yep. Which does mean the inverse, that even if someone were to max that out, and so let's say they maxed from 70% building lot coverage to 80%, that still means that 20% of the parcel is not taken up by the building. And same thing with these two projects, even without the building lot coverage bonus, roughly 30% of the parcel is not taken up by the building.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you for that information.
Is there anything further on the presentation?
No, that is all. This was the bonus slide in case there were these kinds of, questions of needing a visual to kind of talk it through. I recognize this is a complex topic.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for walking through this in a way that we mostly can understand. The non-planners. I will say, and I know this wasn't what the majority of our conversation was about, and it have a little line on it, but just because there's a lot of, I don't know, rumors or, because of the word open space, which I think to many people means something different than it does for planners. This does not affect any parkland dedication. All the parks that the city owns were dedicated when they were transferred to the city into the city's ownership upon platting. So the city owns all the parkland, and this has nothing to do with any of that parkland, and it will not affect the private public space that is planned, which you saw in that bonus slide. Which is part of the water feature. I know a lot of people have seen pictures from that, and some of my colleagues have walked around it. But where the red dot is, thank you. So I just want to make that clear that this has nothing to do with actual parks. The city owns the parks, and we plan to keep them. So, but is there any other questions or comments on this? Otherwise, this is our first hearing and staff report, and I know there's a couple more weeks before we vote on this. All right, well, thank you both for the presentation. I appreciate it. And thank you, if she happens to be watching, Menica Mohan, thank you for all your work on this. Unfortunately, you went on to your new job before you were able to get this through council, but thank you for all your work on this and everything you did on the Highland Bridge Ford site. We're grateful and appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
This ordinance is laid over to October 6th for the second reading public hearing, which is being held remotely through emails and voicemails taken to contact council. Item 17 is resolution public hearing 21-232, amending the financing and spending plans of the Department of Public Works capital budget to add funding to the 2021 sidewalk program and the 2021 Energy Park Cleveland and Selby Internet project.
All right, this is a public hearing. Testimony was taken in writing and by voicemail. Is there any comments or questions? If not, a motion to adopt this from Councilmember Jalali or to close the public hearing and adopt this. Councilmember Jalali, roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 18 is Resolution Public Hearing 21-234, amending the financing and spending plans of the Department of Public Works capital budget to transfer CIB and MSA funding into projects.
This is a public hearing and testimony on this was taken by writing and by voicemail. I will have a motion to close the public hearing and approve from Councilmember Prince.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 19, Resolution Public Hearing 21-256, approving the application of University of St. Thomas for a sound level variance in order to present live amplified sound for a Cretin-Durham Hall football event on October 8th at 2115 Summit Avenue, O'Shaughnessy Stadium.
This is a public hearing and testimony was taken by writing and by voicemail. A motion to close the public hearing and approve from Councilmember Jalali. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 20, Resolution Public Hearing 21-257, approving the application of Laura Lefebvre for a sound level variance in order to present live amplified sound on October 16th at 1227 Montreal Avenue, Highland Park Picnic Shelter.
This is a public hearing. Testimony was taken by writing and by voicemail. I will take a motion from Councilmember Tao to close the public hearing and approve. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 21, Resolution Public Hearing 21-259, approving the application of Allianz Field for a sound level variance in order to present live amplified sound for the Smoke Out at Allianz Field event on October 3rd on Spruce Tree Drive by Allianz Field, 400 Snelling Avenue North.
This is a public hearing. Testimony was taken by writing and voice message. Take a motion to close the public hearing and approve by Councilmember Tao. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 22, Resolution Public Hearing 21-260, approving the application of University of St. Thomas for a sound level variance in order to present live amplified sound on October 10th at 2115 Summit Avenue, O'Shaughnessy Stadium.
This is a public hearing and testimony was taken by writing and by voice message. I'll take a motion to close the public hearing and approve by Councilmember Jalali. Roll call.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 23, Resolution Public Hearing 21-264, amending the 2021 spending and financing budget in the Office of Financial Empowerment by $202,957 to accept the Year 3 Whole Family Systems Grant from Minnesota Department of Human Services for advancing 2-generation strategies through College Bound St. Paul.
This is a public hearing. Testimony was taken by writing and by voice message. And I will take a motion from Councilmember Yang to close the public hearing and approve. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Galali,
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 24, Resolution Public Hearing 21-265, amending the 2021 Special Fund Budget and adding activity for the 2022 National Highway Traffic Safety Administration 2022 DWI Officer Grant from the State of Minnesota Department of Public Safety.
This is a public hearing and testimony was taken by writing and by voice message. I'll take a motion to close the public hearing and approve by Councilmember Prince. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 25, Ordinance 21-36, establishing a Community Advisory Committee for the position of Director of Human Rights and Equal Economic Opportunity pursuant to the provisions of Section 11.01 of the Administrative Code.
This is a public hearing. Testimony was taken by writing and by voicemail. I'll take a motion to close the public hearing and lay over for final reading from Councilmember Yang, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the ordinance is laid over to October 6th for final adoption. The legislative hearing officer recommends adoption of the following resolutions as no objections to these recommendations were received. Item 26, RLH FCO 21-144, 115 Acker Street. Item 27, RLH VO 21-38, 807 Aurora Avenue. Item 28, RLH BBR 21-59, 1069 Beach Street. Item 30, RLH FCO 21-83, 774 Case Avenue. Item 31, RLH FCO 21-137, 1005 Conway Street. Item 37, RLH TA 21-389, 2103 Minnehaha Avenue East. Item 38, RLH FCO 21-139, 415 Mount Ida Street. And the motion is to adopt these items.
Great. Thank you. Roll call, please.
We need someone to make the motion.
I'm sorry. A motion to adopt the items from Councilmember Prince. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are closed and the resolutions are adopted. For the following items, no objection to the legislative hearing officer's amended recommendations were received, and therefore she recommends amendment and adoptions of items 32, RLH SAO 21-65, 1450 Dale Street North. Item 33, RLH RR 21-58, 698 DeSoto Street. Item 36, RLH TA 21-97, 1817 Maryland Avenue East. And item 39, RLH TA 21-296, 1297 7th Street West. And again, the motion is to amend and adopt these items.
Okay, and we have a motion from Councilmember Tao on that. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are closed and the resolutions are adopted as amended. For the following items, the legislative hearing officer's recommendations is to refer to legislative hearings on the dates I'll note. Item 34, RLH RR 21-24, 975 Hudson Road, October 12th. Item 35, RLH RR 21-59, 830 Eigelhart Avenue, October 12th. And item 40, RLH RR 21-60, 1941 University Avenue West, September 28th. And again, the motion is to refer to the legislative hearing items I noted.
All right, and a motion to approve those items by Councilmember Yang. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The resolutions are referred to legislative hearings. And for the following item, the legislative hearing officer's recommendation is contested and additional testimony from the appellant is in the record. Item 29, RLH TA 21-356, 1285 Beechwood Place. And we do have a staff report.
Mormon.
Council Chair Tolbert, my report is going to be very brief. 1285 Beechwood Place, the vacant building registration was appealed, and the council made a determination in January of this year to deny the appeal to be released from the vacant building program, but to grant a waiver of the fee for a very unusual period of nearly 6 months. The building continues to meet the definition of registered vacant building. The fee has come due. This is for, at this point, 10 of 12 months into the year. The item is being contested because the writer believes that it doesn't meet the definition of vacant building. Since the council already made that determination, I'm recommending approval of this assessment.
I make a motion to approve the recommendation of the hearing officer on this matter. Roll call, please.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Chair Tolbert.
Yes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. And that is it.
Thank you very much. Do we have any good news? Councilmember Jalali, first at the mic.
I've been able to share this news with our offices and with the public. I am bidding a heartfelt farewell this week to my aide, Matt Pravatsky. I think I shared this with all of you, that he's transitioning and going on to a great new role in the solar energy space. I wanted to actually just somewhat anticlimactically say we're planning a bigger celebration for Matt when more council members can be present. So I'm just looking forward to sharing some information about that. I know all of you have gotten to work with Matt and been able to share all of this effort together. And there are not many folks who, or there are some folks who could not be here during the times of his actual transition week. So we're planning something great. So we're trying to be chill about it. But I did not want to let his last council meeting go by without acknowledging you, Matt, and without just letting you all know on our call and whoever might be listening in. Stay tuned for the Matt party. And I don't think he'd like me saying more than that right now, so I won't. But thank you so much, Matt, and more proper celebration to come.
Thank you. Councilmember Prince.
Thank you, Councilmember Tolbert, and thank you, Matt Pravatsky. We will miss you. And look forward to that celebration of your good work. I have a couple of items. It's a big weekend for Councilmember Yang and I on Payne Avenue. Tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m., September 23rd at 967 Payne Avenue, there will be an informal gathering to celebrate and view the finished product of River Stories 2021, which is a partnership between the Great River Passage, the Other Media Group, and Urban Roots. This is part of the Solidarity Street Gallery that's going to be taking place on Payne Avenue in a variety of venues between tomorrow, September 23rd, and the 25th. And you can find more information to see all of the wonderful artwork that is art and performance inspired by Indigenous sovereignty and environmental justice at the website www.solidaritystreetgallery.org. And in conjunction with the Solidarity Street Festival on Saturday from 10 until 3 is Art in the Hollow. September 25th. Oh, sorry about that. It's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Start at St. Paul Brewing and park your car up there or anywhere around the neighborhood and head down to the Hollow for the East Side's longest running arts festival. It is part of Solidarity Street Festival weekend. Free parking at St. Paul Brewing. A shuttle will be available Saturday to connect visitors to Art in the Hollow, the Solidarity Street Gallery, and activities at the Eastside Freedom Library and more. So it's a really important weekend in wards 6 and 7 as relates to those great events.
Thank you very much. All right, any other comments or good news? If not, we can be adjourned. See everybody.
Nice work, Councilmember